The most important thing that you need to do on your self-love journey is to give yourself emotional safety. We are so programmed as women to be looking externally in the world to feel safe in our bodies. And you are on a journey of returning to your power, returning to inner safety, of having an abundant life, and that all begins from the inside. I'm Katie, and I am the Fire Force Guide on this journey back to my divine self, and I'm here to share with you how to reconnect with your power, remember your divine self, so that you can build a beautiful life from the inside out. So we need to talk about this self-love. The core of self-love is feeling emotionally safe within your own body. To be able to be within your body and to know that you are safe. When our systems are in survival mode, we cannot create or get clarity to think and dream and imagine a life that we desire. Because the part of our brain that's stuck on, it keeps us in fight or flight. And when we're living in fight or flight, you can't access higher parts of you, creative imagination. It's like Maslow's hierarchy. We're so conditioned from a very young age to seek externally for what we need to feel loved. And I'm going to get real serious because I did this for so long. I expected the outside world to make me feel safe. And this is why, as women, we feel so powerless. We are so conditioned to live in this mentality that we must have the outside world show us that we are safe. We have a codependency on things outside of ourselves to give us the inner safety that we need. So when we're on this journey back to our hearts, to remember our true selves, we must know that we can provide our own emotional safety. You do not need to look externally and to have all of the outer world to show you that you are safe. See, what happens is we're trained from a very young age. We're told who we are. We're told what to believe. We're conditioned out of self-trust. So you see a world of adults walking around waiting for permission, reacting to the world. But really what it is we live in a fear mentality. We are waiting for that relationship, waiting for the man to change, just holding on, hoping something will change so that we can feel better. And the core of returning to ourselves, of rebuilding our identity, is taking our focus off of the things outside that we can't control and stop expecting that man, that job, those circumstances, those family members to make you feel safe to be yourself, safe to love yourself. So what we can do is begin to take that energy and that focus and return it inward to begin prioritizing our own inner voice. So how do we do this in practice? Well, if you're like me, if you're like most adults, you have learned to disconnect from your inner voice. You've learned to ignore when negative emotions and feelings come up because we're not taught what these negative feelings even mean. So we just slap labels on, like I'm an anxious person, I'm a perfectionist. But love, anxiety and the negative feelings that are coming up, that is our inner self speaking to us to say, it's a signal to tune us back into our body, to recognize that there's things that we're believing that are not in alignment with your true self. And your true self, when I speak of that, I'm speaking to your highest, divine, worthy self. The highest part of you that came here, you are a soul having a human experience. The part of you that arrived here from the divine cosmos, from source, with a specific purpose and callings on this earth. But what happens is we get disconnected from that highest part of us, and we learn only to see what the world told us we are. So we learn to disconnect from what our body's signals are. So when you are having negative emotions and things coming up and you're feeling, your body is feeling dysregulated. And what that feels like is nervousness, anxiety, depression, even numbness, where we look outside for dopamine or something to make us momentarily feel better, because we don't feel safe in our bodies. You're lacking inner peace because you have learned to disconnect from your true self. So it's like whispers, these emotions coming up are saying, tune into me, listen to me. I have unmet needs. There's repressed, wounded parts of me that need to be met and seen and released. In order to rebuild an inner world that's safe and calm and regulated, we must learn to down-regulate our nervous systems. And you can do that work. The practices of breath work and beginning meditation tells your body that it is safe to slow down. Because unless you are in acutely dangerous situations, you are safe in this moment. That is the truth. But our bodies don't feel it because they are stuck in this survival mode. So we find ourselves looking outward for safety, or we look outward for distractions. That's what addictions are. That's what endless compulsions and scrolling and substance use and using food. It's a way to try to regulate from the outside in. And you will just continue to feel more and more disconnected from your true self. Because the truth is, what we resist will persist until we take our energy and our attention and see the truth and say to yourself, I get to give myself emotional safety. I can go in and tune back into my body and care for my inner world by slowing down my nervous system, by listening to those negative feelings coming up, because those negative emotions are inviting you in to something that you need to face. And really, what we're afraid of is facing whatever that pain is. We're afraid of feeling that in our body. So we end up running and we end up feeling worse because we're afraid to feel that thing again inside. So begin to listen. This is the practice. Just begin to listen. You are meant to walk through your day and to feel joy and to feel peace and to feel this elevated states of emotion. But most people do not default to inner peace, because the world is tuned to the frequency of fear, of lack, of scarcity. And from a very young age, you were tuned to that frequency by living in the world, in the programs. But you have the power to create a new program, to create an inner world that's based on higher frequencies. That's how we create the life we desire. There's the scale of consciousness, if you're not aware of, and it's based on emotions. So every emotion vibrates at a frequency. The low frequency emotions are shame and fear and lack and scarcity. If you've lived in the world long enough, you've been in the programs and in survival, you've been wounded by caregivers and places, schools, teachers, any of the messages that came into you from the world likely took your frequency down to lack, to scarcity, to shame, to fear. That's why we end up programmed and defaulted to feeling dysregulated, and we lack a sense of peace in our body because our emotions are down low. But as you begin to pull your energy and power back, you begin to train your nervous system again that it is safe. It is safe to allow those unprocessed wounds. It is safe to be in your body. It is safe to trust your voice again. And you get to become the conscious creator. You get to create your world. And it starts by the life and the joy and the emotional world you create inside. And our outer world is created first inside. So this week, get a hold of your thoughts. Start to take inventory of what you're thinking about during the day, your emotional state. What percentage of the day are you feeling these low frequency emotions? Shame, negative emotions. When you start to feel something negative or triggering, tune into it. This is where the change begins. You cannot change what you are not willing to face. And we cannot change what we do not have awareness of. So we first must get awareness of what is happening within our bodies during the day. So start to become present with yourself. And that will require tuning out a lot of the outside noise. A lot of it is just noise, and it is keeping you from really hearing yourself. So tune in to what is your emotional state throughout the day? Where do you default to in your thought world? And that's where we begin. We have to become conscious of where we're allowing our mind to go. Carl Jung said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life, and we will call it fate. So the life you're living, the fate that you are taught to believe is just what is, it was created within your inner world first. And you did not get to choose the programs and the thoughts and the beliefs that were put into you. You didn't even probably know for a long time you were living in survival mode, seeking your outer safety to feel okay within. But as you begin to become aware, this is how you take your power back. This is how you become the creator of your life, by realizing that you have full control to change your emotional state by changing your thoughts. Because our life is created from our deepest unconscious beliefs. And if you don't know what your deep beliefs are that were given to you, you will continue to run on your beliefs, creating your thoughts that create your emotions, and we act out of that emotion. And what happens is we send out that signal in the world, and we get in this repetitive loop where we continue to create based on what we believe. That's why our beliefs get reinforced. Whatever belief you have, it will continue to be reinforced over and over. If you believe that people aren't trustworthy or people are emotionally unavailable, your brain, you will act out of that belief, and you will see that over and over in your world until you become the one who stops the belief, to heals that wound where that belief began was out of a wound. And you get to choose a new belief, because a belief is a decision we make. We get to make new meaning. And you give yourself the emotional safety. Your mind is like a canvas and you are the brush. But we are often trained to believe that the outer world is the brush. And so we hope that what is planted is good for us. And that leaves us in a state of powerlessness. And I lived in a state of powerlessness in victimhood for so much of my life. And that's why I'm so passionate about you understanding this, because you are not meant to feel like a victim and you are not meant to live powerless. Your life, everything you your life and everything you desire begins in the deepest part of you, in your belief system. See, we think that the world is the cause and our thoughts and our mind is the effect, but it is the other way around. It is the other way around. We have it backwards. Your thoughts and beliefs are the cause, and the outer world is the mirror, and it is the effect of what you plant in the garden of your mind. So I'm going to leave you with that. This week, become aware of your emotional state. Start to observe yourself, almost like stepping outside, like being the observer, looking down, seeing what's happening. And as you start to become aware of your emotional state, now you're starting to take your power back. So keep going, keep doing this work. You have more power than you will ever have known. You are limitless and you are abundant. And I'm here walking this journey with you. I love you.